Hello. I've been unmuted. Check. How is everybody? Everybody being the one person who's there at the moment. Let me turn on the chat. So let's see. Hello, Ivor. How are you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for coming along. Could you do me a favor while it's just you and I here? Great. You can hear me. That's good. Now, tell me if this is this breaking up or is it halting or something like that? On the countdown coming in, it just kept halting every couple of seconds. So, interesting. Likewise, okay. Yeah, I think that's a response to hello rather than my technical questions. So, Ivor, do you how's the quality of the live stream? Like, it's not halting or glitching or anything like that, is it? Yeah. All right. Okay. Oh, that's good. Okay, your answer just came up there. So who else? Yes. Okay. So we might as well just sort of chew the fat, I think, for a bit until somebody else might get in, because I want to ask you a question just about the timing of this podcast. I'm feeling that it might be just that little bit early. So maybe if I left it half an hour. Who else we got here? Oh, Grant Ivor and anyone else? Just two. Anybody else there? Hello. Grand, same. It's the same as last week. Good. Do you know what? I didn't look back on the last week's episode. I was so busy during the week. I had so much on, quoting for these art projects that I sometimes do, these commissions for people and things. That I didn't get around to putting up thumbnails, for example, on the videos, that kind of thing. But I hope to get around to it this week. I suddenly came clear on things yesterday, so I wasn't sort of under such pressure. Now, everyone well, including me, I thought it'd be a wonderful thing to be a professional artist, especially back when I was in industry and printing, and I just didn't realize how much admin that I was going to have to do. So for example, I've got to do all my own accounts, my bookkeeping, doing all the web stuff, chasing debts, doing oh great, you look forward. Oh, thanks very much. That's really gratifying to hear. I don't care if there's just one person listening, as long as they're getting something out of it. Yeah, so this professional sort of artist thing, it sounds like a lovely thing to do, but parts of it are, but other parts can be quite draining and onerous, especially the accounts business and the admin. I'm so forgetting things left, right, and center. And however good I am at painting stuff, and perhaps I'm good, wherever, but marketing is absolutely beyond me. I've absolutely no clue how people do that kind of thing. It's like a dark art, isn't it? Understanding algorithms, which keep changing apparently. But I met with a young marketing type who's agreed to sort of give me some help. And she was saying that it's the same for marketers. They've got to relearn stuff, almost every few months, because these technical corporations, whatever, YouTube and whatever, they keep changing the algorithms. So and I've no hope of learning them if that's the case. If they can't, the 25-year-old can't do it, what am I going to do? But still waiting for anyone else to come in. Hopefully, a couple more regulars will come in. So I don't want to start and have them sort of lose the thread of what I'm doing. What do you think, Ivor, in that case, and the other secret listener or viewer that's there, of just moving it half an hour, sort of further into the evening, to start at 6:30 rather than 6 o'clock? I've got a feeling that people might just be having their tea, but Now, I noticed some people just come in that little bit late, as if perhaps they've been occupied or getting home from work or something like that. So I kind of pitched it around 6 o'clock, to try and get Americans, as many as I can in the morning, maybe. So any huff. So all right, what I'll do is I'll show you what I'm going to do today. So we'll get on with things. So let me just click this. Right. Okay. So pattern surfaces. It's something that I've been doing all week with. So the half an hour, pushing it half an hour suits you. Okay, I'll bear that in mind. That's good. Let me just show you that so that somebody did answer me. There you go. So half an hour suits you. And hide on stream. Get rid of that. Yeah. So I find that there's usually a stage where I get my students to paint white against white or something like that, just to show that white objects are not white and they're just as reflective as anything else, only it's more subtle. So it is a kind of a difficult exercise, I think. But the added difficulty is when there are patterns, or whatever on the ceramics. And what I find that people do is they paint the whole thing in white. And so I'm going to endeavor to show how I teach this anyway. So if you want to, I'll leave that up for the moment. You've got a picture. That's a still picture in front of you on the screen. But I've actually got my jug set up on a stand over there. It's just that I can't show you because it won't allow me to have other cameras. What I'd like to do is have a camera that shows you exactly what I'm painting from the angle that I'm painting at. But this is the next best thing. I mean, it's not going to move. It is a still life. So you may as well have a still shot of it. So I'll just start off with a drawing. Right. So here we go. So let's measure it first. Well, I measured it this morning, didn't I? With my students have pushed that up there like that. It's a little bit taller than it's wide. Okay, so kind of governed by the width. And see if that's the width, it's got to be a little bit taller. Okay, let's put that there. And that there. So that's probably my boundaries there. Get rid of that. What happened there? What happened there? I'm daft. I'm sorry. I'm getting confused with all the technology. Let me just get rid of something here. And it'll get rid of that. Yes. And get rid of that. Just windows are taking up memory, operating memory. Okay, so there we go. So I've got my size, so I can put myself in a little boundary box, and it shouldn't come out any further than that. It probably will a little bit, but that's it. So that's sighted okay on my canvas, which is actually paper in this case. It's textured oil painting paper. All right, so I'm going to just start to draw in. That there, and I do that in straight lines because it's easier to draw straight lines than it is to do curved ones. Yeah, there's the handle there, out there, there, and there's a little bit of it's on the cant there, if you see what I mean. There, there. Probably a little bit high there. That can come down there. Look at that negative space there. So that's got to push that out a little bit. That's not too bad there. And that's got to come down there like that. Get my rag. Get rid of that bit there. Push that in there. Oh, Ivor, okay, you've been lumping something to do. Yeah, okay, don't I know it. Listen, have a good evening, okay? Take care of yourself. And hopefully I'll see you next week. All right, cheers, Ivor, bye. Right, so I'm going to put in an indication of the pattern. There. And do you know what? I'm going to switch to the main thing. There we go. That's better, isn't it? And the pattern also comes up around here. Darker part there. Comes around there and then travels down the right hand edge of my, and then there's a bit of pattern up there. Okay. And the horizon, I always call that bit of horizon, for want of a better word. And then the shadow is also an object. So I'm going to put that into there like that. And it comes down there like that. So that's my drawing. Yeah, there's not much in the way of the shadows in the foreground, in the background, I should say. Right. Let me just grab my brush again, get my rag, have my rag where I can hold it in my left hand. Right, so I'm going to make the darks, which are in that pattern. They seem to be the darkest thing in the still life. So blue plus red plus a little bit of black, because they're slightly grayish, dark and grayish. Okay, and I'm going to put them in where I see them. There. Up the top of that handle there. There. And there. So I'm just averaging out the pattern. That's dark there, comes down there like that. A bit more black into that. There. Around there. That's all dark. Then it gets slightly lighter as it travels down there. Okay, so that's it there. There. Okay. Just going to make sure my drawing, that can come up a little bit. Because painting is all about making marks and then correcting them. Right. And that's better. There. Right, now that I've got that lot in, I'm going to put in the background. Okay, so the background is a darkish pink. So I'm going to grab some white and permanent rose. And I'm going to add in a little touch of yellow because it's a warm spotlight has been played on it. So I'm going to put that in there, just beef it up a little bit more white, a bit more red, a bit more yellow. Okay, that's not too bad. Touch more yellow. And I'm going to block in that part. the foreground. There. And then come around here. Down to the horizon. Complete that there, and that's that blocked in. Okay, clean the brush down, and I'll do the foreground, which is, it's very grayish sort of blue in the photograph. It's actually bluer in reality. So I'm going to grab some cobalt blue and some white, add a little bit of yellow because there's that warm light playing on it. Okay, make up quite a light blue. I'll grey it down just for pig iron here, just for laughs. That's what pig iron means. That's a very Dublin phrase. And I'm going to make my shadow off this. Sorry, I have to say, maybe I'll bring that in a bit so you can see it. There, that's the foreground. And I'm going to make a shadow of that using a little bit of ivory black. And put that in first. That'll sort out my shadow. There, you can see it there just poking in. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of blue to that shadow. And put that in first. Yeah, there we go. Shadow in. There's a shadow off to the left, but I'm not going to put it in. There's a terrible glare off that pink, isn't there? Can I do something about that? Can I twist that around? That light there. That's better, isn't it? Yeah, you can see it a bit in the reflecting off my phone now, but it's okay. It's better here. That's better. Just a little bit darker for me to see. Right, it's going to wipe my brush down. I'm going to grab some of the lighter. I need to make some more of it now. A bit more yellow. Okay, and put that in there. There. Okay, up there. So now I've got my foreground in. I think that shadow needs to be just extended slightly. Just get that shadow color and push it in there like that. It's more like that. Okay. And nobody told me that I'd forgotten the pink background in here. Okay, so just going to make sure of my negative space there. All right, so I've got that there, which means I can go on to the light parts of this jug. Now, none of it can be white, you see. None of it can be white, even though it's a white jug with a blue pattern, because you're governed by the highlights. And the highlights, the big one for me is here. There's a spotlight. You can probably just about see it there. And everything has got to be lighter than that highlight there. So I'm going to make up. So that's pure white. That'd be too bright because I wouldn't see my highlights on that. I'm going to add in yellow, red, and blue to make a grey. Okay, so and this grey, let's add in a little bit of red and yellow, a bit more yellow into it. So this kind of grey colour here, it's pinkish at the moment, but it just needs to be dark enough so that you can see a highlight. So if I stick a little bit of pure white on top of that, you can see it there, can't you? Yeah, that would be good. No brighter than that. Okay, and so I'm going to start putting in a little bit of that just to mark in those, because it's warm off to the left and it gets cold as it goes over to the right. Okay, so warm here, so put that in, warm there. Okay, so that's good. So I'm just sort of working out the tonal values of this painting first. So there's that, and then there's, to make the bluer grey, just going to add a bit more blue into the same grey. So it's the same tone, but it's just a bluer grey. And I think down there is like that. So it's lighter than the actual foreground, but darker than this, because there's less light getting into this side here. I might just make it a touch lighter. Okay, come down here. Okay, that's not too bad. And a bit there, and a little bit here. Now, before I go on, I'm going to start doing more pattern, because I'm going to jump around between the pattern and the white of the jug, if you see what I mean. So I didn't do a great big sort of block of light, the white of the jug, because then it would be too hard to get in good darks. They'll get the light into the darks, and they'll look muddy and pale and not right. So I'm trying to keep things separate. Now, it's impossible to keep everything separate, but I'm working together. I averaged out the amount of dark, and I averaged out the amount of white ceramic, and I'm trying to paint them and keep them separate. Okay, so the next thing is a lighter version, slightly grayer version of that pattern, because it's not all very, very dark. Okay, for instance here, and also you'll notice that I don't really want to add a little bit of red to that. I don't really want to actually paint the pattern. I just want to sort of get the general shape. And here, the fact that it just flies up the right hand side of the jug and comes down here, all the way down almost, but I'm just sort of putting in dabs where I think I see there's a dark here that I missed actually to define the edge of that jug. There. Where else is anywhere else I've missed? That's all there. That's grand. That's there. That's good. Okay. And that goes all the way to the edge of that jug. Push that around. Okay. Who else have we got here? Who else? I've got two people watching, and it's very, very spooky. Have people watching you, not know who they are. Right. So there's what was I? Where was I doing before I rudely interrupted myself? Oh yeah. So I grab a little bit more white, and there's even a slightly lighter grey of the pattern. These clouds that come across here. So I just want to get those in. I'm not sort of doing a faithful painting of the clouds. It's just the way they go on this, which is something like that. Where else do I see it? Down here. It comes across there like that, and then down there like that. No, I'm not painting. It's a cottage. It's some kind of cottage, isn't it? With trees around it, and sky above. So they're the clouds, and then there's these flowers up the sides. So I'm not exactly painting flowers. I'm just putting in dabs where I see lighter and darker tones of those darks. Okay, so now back to the ceramic, the colored ceramic, and I seem to I fancy that there's a bit of green being reflected, and it could be from the fact that I'm wearing a green shop coat. Could be that. could be just reflecting something else that's around it. And that's what you're doing when you're painting reflective objects. Well, any objects really. You look around the object to see what there is. And if you see something that's worth putting in, say, okay, I'll put that green in or whatever. So I see a kind of a greenish light grey there, and maybe here. See, there's a blue one there, kind of slightly greenish one here. There, and I'm still trying not to disturb too much the pattern. I'm working them together bit by bit. There, and maybe there's a yellowish tinge up here as it catches the warm light from the spotlight that I have. I just have a kind of a halogen spot trained on the object, so that maybe there. So that could go all the way up there a bit. Now, up here, it's light. It's not up with the highlights, but it's light and it's warm because it's a warm halogen light. So I just want to make that slightly brighter, less grey, and put that in there. But it's still not, you can't compete with the highlights. Put that in there like that. Oh, project. How are you doing? Sorry, I didn't see you there. I was concentrating on the painting. But we haven't got very far. Can you understand what's going on? Well, you can look back over the video anyway later on and listen to me blathering on. So I think that's kind of slightly yellowish there as well, and it kind of goes in a bit there as well. But there, and then up in there. There. Where else do I see it? Now, just up here, I think it's possibly a little bit blue. I'll put that there. And what you're trying to convey is that there are reflections all the way around it, just like as if it was a silver object. Okay, you've got to get in. You've got to give the viewer the impression that it's reflective, and you do that by reflecting as much as you can around it. So there's a darkish grey ceramic. I'm just going to grab some of that grey from over there and bring it in, and that's a shadow under here. I want to put that in there, and then down here like that, and then I can see a similarly grey part to that, although it gets warmer there, and then it gets warmer as it goes to the right. Across that top of that handle there, it's quite light and warm, so I'm going to put that in as a light and warm. I'm still not describing bits of pattern. All I'm doing is shaping the general sense. You see, I cut into that just dab that's there and there. I'm not painting flowers or anything like that. Do you use some of these? Oh, sorry. Let me just show on that on screen. And from project, do you use some of these recent paintings for your greeting card licensing projects? Oh yeah. No, I don't. I haven't. Hang on. Let me just sort of. No, I haven't. I don't know. I told you I'm not very good at marketing. Would you buy one? I'm not asking you to buy one. I'm just saying that. Do you think they would be sellable? Any advice on that sort of front is good, because I never know what's kind of good and what's not. I think it's good, and then sort of somebody will come along and buy the one that I thought was no good. So anyway, look, let's get on. But it's a good question though. I shall see. Oh, let's get on with this now. So, I'm still in the stage where I'm pushing the paint around, trying to establish a good representation of a pattern on the ceramic. That's all blue there. Let me grab some blue and put it over here. and this is the shadow side, and the right hand side is away from that light. So I'm going to put in these light blues there, coming down here. And I'm just putting on dabs. I'm not brushing the paint on, or at least I'm trying not to brush the paint on. I'm trying to just dab it on, and then come back to it with the outside. Now, going back to the pattern again, or better not, hang on, let me just put in something down about here. There's a couple of lights there, 1, 2 together, a few in this. I've got danger here that I'll start sort of describing too much, but I'm going to put in that one there. When I was doing this painting this morning for my students, I used the same jug. I couldn't even see from the distance I was painting what the pattern was. So, and then along here, I'm just going to put in some dabs to show that there's stuff going on in those trees there. There's a light grey coming down here. That's part of the pattern. Up there, I might as well fill that in. Now there's a kind of a mess of lights, and if you see with me, just that's not a very good description. There's a kind of a group of lights in here, so which I'm not going to over describe. I'm going to put. Now I'm working onto the blue. You see, this is where I've got to be careful, so that I don't pick up too much of that blue and make mud. Try and keep things separate. There, and maybe there, and push that in there. And bit by bit, I'm bringing these two parts of the painting together, but without trying to, without sort of making them into a mess. Right, so that can go in there through there. Then it gets quite dark and grey as it comes just directly underneath the spout, and probably it's reflecting that blue. Actually, so I'm going to pick up some of that blue and put it underneath, because it has to be reflecting that blue there. Okay, then there's at the very base of the jug, there's a line of ceramic, bare ceramic here and here, which I've left separate. Okay, let me go back into the main thing so that you can see better. What have I got now? So all of this, the whole thing is being kept away from the brightest brights. You'll see why at the end. Okay, there, like that. So that's still quite dark and grey there. I'm not going to push that. You're pushing paint around rather than painting onto the surface. Now back to the pattern. So not quite as dark as the darkest parts. So I'm going to put that there. That kind of comes up there. There's some slightly lighter, grayer parts of that pattern there. In fact, it's kind of like a Tudor, half-timbered house. So it's a very old jug, actually. And then that comes up there like that. And then we've got that. Back to the ceramic. Put that in there. Little dabs around the place. It's kind of detail giving the illusion of function, of artistically applied glaze, I suppose. Just little dabs around. Okay. Grab some of that again. Push that around. Put that in there actually. And that can come around there. I'm going to lighten up my ceramic now. Lighten it and warm it. A bit of yellow and a bit of red. Let me lighten it again. I have to be very careful not to compete with the highlights. So there. Anything else? There's a couple of little nice little lights down here. Put those in there like that to show people, the viewer, that there's art actually on the jug itself. There, around there. Now, the lip of the spout, I'm going to push that up a little bit. I'm going to change my brush actually, because this is a very small painting. Look at my hand compared. It's just so that it fits on the screen, and I'm painting on the flat as well, which is usually I like to paint against my painting, at my painting, rather than over it. Painting over paintings is for watercolorists, and I'm not a watercolorist. Right, so I'm going to put in a nice light touch there, and there's an undulation in that. It goes up and down and then around like that. Okay, and oh yes, I was doing this, wasn't I? And I'm just going to push that up a little bit. It needs to come up higher than I have it. Up and over. And then I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me if I just blew your eardrums out. It was not my intention. So and then it goes kind of blue and cool. So I'm just going to grab some white and put it against that blue that I already have. I'm using my paint efficiently. I'll just see a blue there. I'm going to use it. Okay, and I'm going to come around here because this part is light, yes, but it's away from the warm bulb. So there. And then at the back as well, I can see, go back to this tone here, push that in, and that kind of undulates as well, up and down and up again, something like that. I ran out of paint. There you go. And that means I can just get my grey and just push against that, and it'll thin out that that line, and grab some of that warm tone and push against that as well. So you're pushing the paint around. I'm going to push that line out. So you never paint a thin line, you sculpt a thin line. That's what I tell my people, and I'm sticking to it. And then if you go down there like that, and then up there, just push that over there. Okay. I'm going to get back into the pattern again. I'm going to grab some light blue. So now it's getting easier because my strokes are necessarily smaller because I don't have to do as much. So I'm not going to ruin the you know, the pattern. I'm not going to make mud because I'm only putting small dabs into. Yeah, lines are always tough. You're bloody telling me. Yeah. So put that there, and then we'll move that around a little bit there. Now I'm going to go into my background again because I'm confident more about the shape of the painting. So I can go back in, grab some pink, put a bit of yellow into it, put a bit more pink, and make sure I've got enough paint. And then, do you know what? I'm going to change the hue slightly, just put a bit more yellow into it, make it more orangey, a warmer pink, and then push push that paint around there, push that paint together, there, and then do something with this because it looks a little bit too broad. Push that around there. Push that. Push that around, make it more slender. Okay, just going to lose that sort of hard edge. That will do there, push that out. And I'm going to do the same with the foreground because my shadow doesn't meet the object very well. So there, and now I'm going to grab some blue and white, and add a touch of yellow into it. And that changes the hue slightly, makes it slightly greener blue. It's nice to have a couple of different hues in your plain backgrounds. I always like to do that anyway. You could just keep it completely plain. Lose the edge of that shadow, because it doesn't need to be a hard edge. And I always like to let my strokes show, you know, the texture. The texture is something that it really does help with the painting. So that, and also what I like to do is before we sort of rush towards the finish line is put some of one color into the other, just a little bit, because it always sort of adds to the conceit that there's reflection going on. And there probably is, there must be, even in a surface as matte as that cloth that I've got there, that there must be some reflection going on. And so it makes your painting look more convincing, I suppose. And likewise, that should be in there. Now, I was putting a kind of a bunch of these, and it makes the thing go grey. Let me grab some more and put it in there like that, because then I just go over with my pink again until I like it. I'm going to make it even more orangey as a pink, and then in there like that. And it just sort of, I don't know, it sort of just complicates the area very subtly. I mean, there is something to be said for a completely plain sort of single colors, you know, but that works great in prints. It works great in paintings. But this is what I like to do. I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? Because I'm not even looking at the model anymore. So maybe I would like to lighten that as it comes towards the horizon even, and make it even more orangey and lighter. Because now I'm painting the painting. I'm not worried about the fidelity, I suppose. You have to disengage from the object you're painting in order to make a painting, I think. I'm sure I've heard other artists say that. Yeah. So there we've got that. I think it's described enough. I don't think it needs much more description, or if any. A little bit of solvent came off the brush. Put it in there. I'm not going to worry too much about it. Now, the highlights. Okay, so what I've got here, I've got cool and warm highlights, in fact. So I've got cool highlights here and here, but I've got a really warm one here and here and here. Okay, so let's make the cool ones first. I always make a kind of a violet color. It's kind of like daylight. So white. Have I got a room on my, yeah, over here. White plus red, you know, permanent rose, plus blue. No, loads of white, a tiny amount of blue, and a really tiny bit of red. And then you load the brush so that the paint is proud of the brush, if you get my meaning. You know, so there's more paint on the brush than the tip of the brush can hold. It's coming off the brush almost. And I'm going to put that in there. You know, so you just lay it on. You leave the paint on. Don't brush it on. Don't start stroking the paint on. You'll just lose your highlight and all that lovely work that you've just done. So there's another cool highlight. And oh, there's one more cool highlight that I see, and it's on the handle in the middle, just about there. Okay, and the warm highlights are white, loads of white. Let me find a space on. I've only got this section of the palette to go. Yes, PV. I'll call you PV Project Vintage. So yes, it gives more interest. That's you see, I can't speak when I paint, but that is a good description. Thank you very much. So white plus yellow plus tiny touch of red. Okay, and that would give you this kind of goldeny color, a bit more yellow in it, but loads and loads of white. Okay, and you gather the paint up onto the tip of the brush so it's beyond the tip of the brush. Okay, and then you just put it on. I can see it here. It might be different for you where you're, you know, you're trying to look at my screen and the accuracy of my camera setup, which probably isn't that accurate. So here and here. So I'm just going to leave the paint on there, and at this tip here, it's quite thick there. It'll probably take a couple of weeks to dry. This is this oil paint is what do you call it? Alkyds. So it should be very quick to dry, but because it's so thick there, I mean, it really is quite thick that you won't see that. You won't be able to touch that for a week anyway. I'm going to put in a little bit of blue there, and I just want to sort of go back to restate that. And the last thing I always do is sometimes I just like to lose the edges in places. Don't have to do it everywhere. I might actually even thin that highlight there. I'm going to lose the edge there around the back, because things that are slightly vague retreat from you, and things that are sharp come forward. So this is the sort of, this is facing away from us, so let's have it retreating. Okay, and then yeah, there, putting that in there. There. It's kind of detail, giving the illusion of function. Mac S, the way I always sign things. So there you go. Can I grab it? Let me take this away, and then I'll remove this painter and decorator's tape, low tack stuff, frog tape, isn't it? That's what they call it. Take that off there, and you get a ready. It's almost like the painting becomes framed. It's a nice thing to do. Only works on paper though. Excuse me. Now, I think I've got a cold coming on, a runny nose. So if I bring that up there, I'm not sure if this is going to track it as far as focus is concerned. Yeah. Do you know what? I forgot to restate that that edge along there, but I'll do that later. So what I'll do is in a couple of days I'll scan that and I'll put it in the video. I think I can do that. I'm not sure, but you can see it there anyway. I'm not sure what the fidelity of the camera is like. So I hope you liked that one. You saw the whole process. And if you can't remember it, you can go back and have a look at the video and listen to me droning on while it's happening. Or you can turn the sound off, can't you? But there you go. That's painters. Just to recap, I did a drawing. I did the darks first. I always like to do the darks first. They're like, for me, they're like mapping points. So I don't lose, even if I lose the drawing, I know where everything is because these darks. And then I did the background and the foreground, and then the kind of the most general part of, or general way of doing the pattern. And then I did the most general bare ceramics, if you see what I mean, the white ceramics, all the while knowing that I had to keep away from the highlights. So white cannot be white. This is the thing. And a fellow I met in an artist retreat over here in Ireland, a place called Kilreelig, an American chap called Frank, can't remember his last name, you know, and I hadn't been painting this kind of painting for very long. And I said, what do you think of that after painting White Jug? And he says, there aren't enough reflections in it. And I actually didn't know what he meant. He gave me a book by an artist, or about an artist called David Leffel, who's in New York. He's a fabulous painter, really, really top quality. But the book I didn't think was particularly well written because it wasn't by him, it was by one of the students. And I'm not sure the student fully understood what Leffel was saying. And I didn't either. So it took me sort of a few years of painting to discover that, you know, white has got to reflect everything around it. Otherwise, it doesn't look like white. It just looks like a flat sort of blob of white paint. So it's got to reflect around it. And his other choice phrase was, he said to me, is white is not your friend, you know, because of putting white into places where it shouldn't go. And instead of making things look brighter, it makes them look paler. Obviously, you've got to use white. You've got to use white where you need to use it. You couldn't use white with, in this painting, you know, you couldn't make a pink without using white, for example. Let me just grab that. Let me push me there. So I'll just hold it up there, see if that makes any difference. I'm not sure it does, but it'll just give you another view, I suppose. So that's it. Get there. Yeah. What do you think of that? So that's it. Excuse me. I really do have a cold coming on now. So it was great to have you, and I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got something out of it, and you know, do tell your friends. I was talking to Ivor earlier on, who was here. He had to go and do some errand or other. That I'm wondering whether I'm not starting just half an hour too early. So I think I might push it out to 6:30 my time. So what would that be? Be 1:30, I suppose, Eastern Standard Time. Would that help? Good. I'm glad you feel better, PV. Yeah. What do you think about the possibilities of moving it out 30 minutes to 6:30, 1:30? I suppose, I don't know, Eastern Standard Time. It works. Okay. Yeah, I might do that. So the next week. I'm not sure what I'll do yet. But you'll know when you get here, I suppose. But it'll just be another demonstration. So I'll see you next week, please God, and see how it all goes. Have a great week, and I hope to see you next week. So cheerio. Bye.